Hey everybody, it's Muscle Car Campy and welcome back. We've got a perfect example of a big muscle car today. It's a 1962 Grand Prix. It's got a 389, it's got tri-power, and best of all, it's got a 4-speed. Long before John DeLorean and company dreamed up the GTO, this was the prototype for all Pontiac factory muscle cars. Pontiac reinvented itself completely in 1959, but now they were going for even greater glory. Racing really became part of Pontiac's DNA, and by 1962 it was winning on drag strips, it was winning in NASCAR. Joe Weatherly won its first championship in a Pontiac. You know, it was only fitting that they came out with a car that would reflect that performance image. Now Pontiacs were big, they were special, they were fast, but the Grand Prix really tried to tie all those elements together. We had bucket seats, you had a console, it was a much sportier car, and really where the other cars competed with the big Chevys and the big Fords, this car in the marketplace competed with cars like the Ford Thunderbird, which was really the first personal luxury car. What was really cool on the Grand Prix, the bucket seats in the Maracay vinyl, which is a fancy way of saying nice vinyl, were standard equipment. I love the console. The 4-speed was an option. The console mounted tack was standard equipment. The Wonder-Bar radio was an option, but the clock up in the dashboard, that was standard equipment. Side view mirror was way out on the fender, no way to adjust it from inside, so you had a little toggle down here to adjust your outside mirror. Everything about this car is special, but if you notice, there's a lack of air conditioning. Can you imagine selling a top-of-the-line personal luxury car today without air conditioning? Yet back then, it was still optional. You know, one of the cool features on the 62 Grand Prix was it got its own unique grille. It didn't look like any other Pontiac. It had a special section in the middle there that was unique to the Grand Prix as well. I'm here with the owner of this car, Mike Kelso, who's the president of the first chapter of the Pontiac Oaken Club International in Florida. Mike, tell us a little about some of the special features on the front of this Grand Prix.
Well, some of the other things you'd already covered, but for instance, the headlight doors. There's a little spear, if you will, right above the top here that went lined up with the grille. That was fit this car, 62 Grand Prix only.
Okay. And we talked before, it has a unique center of the grille. You know, Pontiac went back to the divided grille in 1961.
Yeah.
So,
and this particular piece here is different for the Grand Prix than any of the other full-size Pontiac. I found that out the hard way when I tried to buy one.
How hard was it buying parts for this car? Now, you've owned this car for a long time.
Yeah, I bought it in 1988. Parts-wise, I started collecting parts back then. It wasn't as hard as it is now, but a lot of the parts are very unique to 61 or some mostly 62 Pontiacs, and they're pretty hard to find. It's not like GTO parts anymore.
And I'm guessing that not a lot of these parts are reproduced anymore either. It's not a car that was made in huge numbers.
Right, they made 62 Grand Prix, they made 30,195 of them. The next year in 63, they jumped up to like 130,000. But so there weren't a whole lot of full-size Pontiacs. They don't reproduce a lot of stuff. They do some, but not like a GTO or those kind of cars.
What is your favorite part of the car, Mike?
I really don't know. I had a 62 Catalina right out of high school. I always loved that car. I found this one for sale at a swap meet up in Iola, Wisconsin, and the rest is history,
And you spent a couple of bucks restoring it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't want IRS to know how much I spent.
Now, I know now this car, when it was built, was originally an automatic car. You converted it to a 4-speed. Right. And I know that was a real labor of love because it was very expensive to do it exactly the way the factory would have done it. You didn't cut any corners. You put that thing together exactly the way it was supposed to be from the factory.
Correct. Herb Patton out of Nebraska, who used to have the Don Gay 62 Pontiac NHR car, he's into 62 or into Super Duty Pontiacs and 409 Chevys. And I worked with him, and he got between the two of us, we got everything we needed except for some little bitty parts. The clutch rod is a rubber cover that goes over the clutch rod. They haven't made those in years, and I found one. You know, that kind of thing.
Are all the all the bright work is beautiful, even the side view mirror. Is this all original to the car, or any of this stuff you had to find, get replated?
The bumpers have been redone. The spears were NOS I found at Carlisle many years ago. The headlight doors are NOS. I found them someplace. I had the grill redone as far as little pits where rock chips and stuff in here would hit it. Other than that, most of the bright work is original.
Cool. Another cool part of the whole Grand Prix experience was the 1 year only tail panel. The whole rear grille, if you will, was unique to the 62 GP. Everything about the car is styled though. The emblem on the car, the tail lights, everything about it just looks special.
Well, it was originally a 318 horse tri-power motor. It's a matching number, block matches everything. When I rebuilt the motor back in 1989, I put the 348 horse cam in it. And then when I went back through the car in 2013, 2014, I bought the factory headers, if you will, the cast iron headers, and made it correct for a 348 horse car.
How do you drive it now?
Well, you know, when you've got the money, and you're talking a considerable amount of change in just parts and labor, or not even counting the labor. That's all labor love. But I've been known to get into it more than once. That's what are we driving for? I mean, you go to these shows and you see the guy comes in his trailer, and this isn't the trailer queen. Factory 8-lug wheels on a Pontiac started in 1960. They were made out of aluminum. The idea was they were lighter weight. They dissipated heat better for performance. And they were like a truck rim as far as there's 8 lugs instead of the 5 you're used to. It's something that most people don't see and don't understand, which is why a lot of times when I display the car to show, I'll take a wheel off so people can see them and understand them. Back in the day, when you wore them out because they had steel linings just like regular drums on a car, the wheels and the drums were thrown away. There wasn't any way to repair them. Nowadays they can repair them and re-sleeve them. Big old motor doesn't do bad. Of course it sucks gas when you do that.
Yeah. So Mike, this is about as close to riding in a brand new 62 Grand Prix as I'm ever going to get, isn't it?
Pretty close. I've tried real hard to keep it as perfectly original as I can.
I mean, it's a typical full-size GM car of that era. It rides like you're just floating down the road. Did they do any suspension mods to these cars to get them to handle a little better?
Well, actually, in the Grand Prix, it was an inch shorter, lower than the Catalina was, which is what it was based on.
Okay.
So they did something. I'm not sure exactly what they've done.
Now that shifter's a little short. I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't put a little taller shifter in there.
Well, as we were talking earlier, somewhere mid-year they put a taller shifter in. Probably because it is too short.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, again, it's 1962. No seat belts. You know, it's just hold on.
Yeah.
And this is something that, I don't know, the folks can see it on the camera, I suppose. Black interior with a white headliner. Now, that's going to sound funny to some, but this is the second car in a row I shot. The muscle car Campy that was a black interior with a white headliner. The last one was a 65 Mercury Cyclone.
Yeah.
And my brother's 63 Mercury had a white headliner with a black interior. So I guess it wasn't as uncommon as you would think. What rear end gear is in this car?
It's a 323 open.
It is an open rear, okay, because I saw when you did your little smoke show before, it was only coming off one tire.
Yeah.
I guess posi, again, was always still an option. Everything was optional back then.
Yeah, and I had an opportunity to put a posi track in, and I thought, I'm not racing. You know, why spend the money?
And I noticed pretty much everything on this car is date coded correct, isn't it?
Everything.
And it's a real time capsule.
I've tried to keep it as well documented as possible. You know, I mean, I made the changes that I wanted to make as far as putting the cast iron headers on it and the 4-speed in it, and you see it's as original and perfect as they came.
I feel you've got this thing tuned to perfection too. This thing is absolutely like drives like a new car.
It does run nice.
Man,
it's fun. Much like the lady coming out of Walmart, you know, she stopped to say, "Oh, what a beautiful car," and stick her head in it. You know, it's an attention getter.
it seems like you really can't drive a car like this today without, because it looks so different. Everything now is a truck, an SUV, or a crossover. This is, you know, first seeing a two-door car is shocking to some people.
Yeah. And it doesn't have power windows. Nobody knows what to do with it. You've got to get a video of the bright light indicator.
Okay.
Maybe you remember what they're like?
It's a Chief Pontiac.
Yeah, in red Chief Pontiac.
Yep.
People go, huh? Yeah.
Now today they couldn't even put Chief Pontiac on there. They would be appropriating somebody else's culture.
People couldn't even figure out how to turn the bright light on.
Yeah, that and some of the cars I've owned, I'm sure some of the cars you've owned over the years, didn't have an electric windshield washer. You had a foot pump that you used to have to push to get the windshield washer fluid to hit the windshield.
You're aging us.
And you also have a 455 Trans Am street car too, don't you?
Oh, yep.
What year is that?
76.
So that had to be a pretty rare car, having a stick in there.
Well, actually, the 455 in 76, that was the only way you could get a 455 with a 4-speed. But they only made, I think, 7199. I'm just shy, either just shy of 7100 or just shy of 7200.
Wow. Well, Mike, I really appreciate. What should I call you, Mr. President, since you are the president of the chapter of the Pontiac Oakland Club? This is a regal ride, though. This is just absolutely gorgeous. Frankly, I don't really want to get out. I'm enjoying this.
You can stay. I'll bring you a bottle of water. You can stay as long as you want.
I'll just sit here and hang out. And I'm just soaking it all in because, like I said, these vintage Pontiacs were just special automobiles. Very nice. Well, thank you again, sir, and enjoy the car, and enjoy your Pontiacs, and enjoy the club, and I'll see you at a meet later on.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Take care.